And welcome back to Heroes Hype Amateur Series Week 85. I am Bahamut, one of the casters this evening. With me, once again, is Fear. How are you doing this evening, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm just absolutely just hyped for this. I mean, to come back from BlizzCon and just to have another big, I think there's 16 teams signed up for this. So this is going to be a nice, nice evening of HOTS here. Right after BlizzCon, we kind of get to see some other cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what we get tonight as far as compositions, what people took away from the big time HGC tournament, all that kind of stuff. So much stuff to be excited about.
That is actually something to note. It's to come back from BlizzCon, you completely see different meta. But really quickly, we just have to, like, middle of that sentence, just thank Royalite for the 9-month resub. That was absolute, just 9 months. That's a long time.
It's a lot of support.
It's a lot of support for a good channel too. And just to note really quickly that all subs are still going to be going towards supporting and improving the community and channel. So definitely, the subs are still worth, putting in the money, and you're definitely growing an amateur scene that is very, very strong. But where do you think we're going to be going for these first couple games?
I don't know. I'm just like last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm hoping to see a lot of Tomb of the Spider Queen. I think we got it kind of treated. We got a sort of tour of the Nexus last tournament where we got one of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to see some good Tomb of the Spider Queen drawn out games. I always like to see a Warhead game in there, but then sometimes you just get those good games on Cursed Hollow and Battlefield that you just can't pass up. So
no, you definitely can't. And it looks like we're going to be taking Monk S versus coming in hot, and I do believe that'll take us into an Oh My Science bracket here. So this is going to be a very, very strong start to this matchup. And the one thing that I'm just most excited about is, as you've already mentioned, is one of the things is that coming off of BlizzCon, we're going to be getting some interesting, really cool stuff.
How many Tassadar Tracers are we going to see today? Because I feel like that was really the strongest note from the whole tournament. There
was it was a really, really good aspect for some of the teams. It can be countered with some blinds, and there's a lot of ways if you see it coming to kind of counteract it a little bit. But the other thing that we often see here, in my opinion, is that we often also see Tassadar being like first banned. So
yeah, I think we'll see a lot
really
of
getting
that.
through. Yeah, that's the only issue with it.
The one thing I'd love to see tonight, to see some teams try, is the sort of Chinese hyper-aggression with the Tyrael. That's really the linchpin, because a lot of the other teams run aggressive combos, Genji, Abathur, stuff like that, but I just want to see some great Tyrael play, see if we can see some sick sanctifications that I love watching that style.
And just to literally note off of what you were talking about with just like Curse Hollow and taking a tour of the Nexus, like things like Curse Hollow, even Warhead Junction, where you see a priority on the boss and boss control, we might even be seeing that Tyrael, because of the fact that, Sanctification is great at 10. Judgment's still an option, but on a boss map, you might go for that. And then also the Holy Ground at 16, just the zoning and the control you can get from him is a phenomenal tool that you can have on your side. So I'm just overall just absolutely pumped for these matches, because this is going to be, we're going to see some new and interesting things, I hope.
And I have, as far as our first game goes, I have cast coming in hot before, and at least it was just some scrims. It was just a small cast, but they had some really good strategies, some really dominant looking compositions and executions when I watched them last time. So I'm expecting to see good things out of them. Hoping to see a win, and then maybe we'll run into Oh My Science and see where that goes. Of course, we followed them the entire time last 2 weeks ago.
I think you and I had that discussion where we were talking about they didn't play many of the same characters over and over again. They didn't have a lot of repeat picks, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they started the night early with some of the crazy aggressive comps. And then as the night went on, they sort of scaled back into more macro oriented and just standard straight up comps, and they played those just as well in the sort of boa constrictor style, not winning all at once.
That is true. They definitely had a lot of good pacing, and it was just a really, really strong showing from that team, and I absolutely love it. But here's the other thing that we have to consider. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Junkrat should be available.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, I think he should be. We're 3 weeks out from Junkrat today, and I believe 2 weeks is the qualifying factor. So yeah, we just got confirmed. Junkrat is in, and we're on live, so he's been slightly buffed. I was just looking at some stats. I think his win rate has gone up a little bit over the since he got this slight damage buff. And of course, I think we've all seen the mine explosions over the walls. The whole
what? I will say this.
Really fun.
I got to play him for the first time, I think like 2 or 3 days ago. It was over the weekend. Either way, I was playing with my friends, and I was just like, I wonder if I can just throw this mine down. This Kerosene just came a little bit too close, and I blasted him just over the wall. And I was just screaming to my friends because it feels so rewarding. It's a lot like when someone's too close to you and you're a Diablo, and you get the overpower over the gate, and then you get the shadow charge just into that tower. It's like that's just grave error. So, but it also feels really good when you get that silly pick. It feels ridiculous.
It's so funny, and it's funny to me that Garrosh sees so many bans because no one wants to get thrown over a wall, but you don't see it on Junkrat, and no one thinks about Diablo anymore. So obviously he doesn't try any higher. But
he's niche now.
Yeah, he's niche, I guess.
But I mean, he does fit. There are some maps where he's very, very, very strong, and we see him like, for example, Tomb of the Spider Queens we talked about, and Towers of Doom, and a lot of these pinch point maps. So
there was a lightning breath during HGC, because I'm always watching out for Diablos, and then when I'm always watching for that lightning breath. It was on Tomb of the Spider Queen. I think that is very specific to that map because you have such small corridors and stuff. You can really block off. It's more area denial, but maybe we'll see that if we end up on a Tomb or Infernal Shrines.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility in a situation like this.
I'm interested to see how Muradin performs too. I think the nerf to his, because he was really overperforming in HGC when the Dwarf Toss was still stunning, and they nerfed that in a hotfix. Now it just is an 80% slow, but I still feel like Skullcracker is really strong. So I'm interested to see where teams are prioritizing Muradin and what the tank meta is really going to shake out as.
No, you bring up a really good point, because I've been casting a couple games earlier this week, and I think I've also caught 1 or 2 when that nerf has already been through, and I still see people taking that impact momentum, the slow. I mean, the other thing to consider is like you're technically getting a Rhaegar Earthgrass Totem at level 7 on your tank, and if you go for a dive comp, that could be actually extremely powerful, because then you jump in with the slow, you have Greymane potentially diving in, usually you have some Genji follow-up or a Li Ming from the back poking, and it's just like I've seen teams just build around a Muradin, and you can build a complete dive comp. In the past, we've always seen Dwarf Toff used as more of kind of a disengager, some sort of safety, never really utilized as that engage, but now we see Muradin's taking that impact momentum, or the level 7, is that impact momentum?
Heavy impact, but we still see them, but they also take rewind at 20, so you see them leaping in twice, and just and then you get the storm bolts as well. He's become very aggressive, and as you said, that kind of hyper aggressive meta, could we see that come out? And I personally love it, because I've been seeing a little bit in the matches that I've been casting. Yeah, it really just, now I think maybe the stun was a little bit much, but now the slow just enables all those skill shots to come right in, right? You're still not going anywhere. If a Li Ming's launching a combo on you, you're going to get hit. And most importantly, it sort of reminds me of the old Leoric. You always slow before you launch a Drain Life on Leoric. So it's kind of like that. If you jump in, you're not going to miss that Storm Bolt. They're going to be slow. They're going to be right in front of you. They can't really juke it. You just throw the Storm Bolt in, and they're caught. So, okay, it looks like we have a Dragonshire ban coming out. So no Dragonshire. Dragonshire is so tense. I mean, I think that's my favorite thing about Dragonshire is it's not a timed objective where everybody swarms to the objective early. It's just that tense control, and the close Dragonshire maps are just they're so good.
No, and even then, like you can see the whole rubber band effect from Heroes of the Storm on a map like that. I mean, it can be, a team can be completely down. They pick up a late game Dragonite and just bulldozing towers because I mean, late game with the scaling, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
As I was, you and I were talking just a little bit ago, I was saying that I had a 40-minute Garden of Terror match. Like we were down that entire game, but we got one Terror at the end. We ended up wiping the enemy team at our core, and then we just walked to theirs, and then we wiped, but our Samuro finished. So, but either way, it's like one of those things. Like you can completely swap around a game at the last second just because of how the progression into the late game, and one good fight could just win it for you.
Yeah, I agree, and it can be so tense in those. I had a game recently. It was just unranked draft, and I was playing by myself, but it was 20 minutes. No one had captured a Merc camp because no one could leave the lane for long enough. Like we had just such close, like so close in the pushing people out of lane, and top would get pushed back and bottom would get taken, and it was like 21 minutes before a Dragon Knight was taken, and then all of a sudden, then the whole game broke out. As soon as the first person got the Dragon Knight, then everyone's taking Mercs, and the game just turned into chaos. But so I guess we're not going to be seeing Dragonshire or Cursed Hollows, the other ban, and it looks like we're headed to Battlefield of Eternity. Excellent.
So Cursed, I like that ban. They take out a lot of really good macro play here. I think it was Coming in Hots. No, it's just Coming in Hot. Coming in Hot was the one who banned that out. I went for the pun.
I was certain it was a pun at first, and then I was like, no, it is just Coming in Hot. Okay.
But it looks like we're going to be getting into the lobby momentarily. But going into BOE, so a 2-lane map, priority on these immortals, so we typically see some sort of burn as well as team fights. So there's a lot of Li-Ming range poke that you can get from mages, as well as some assassins as well, like we see Lunara. But then the big things we often see is Malthael, we see Greymane, and we see Valo. Those are our typical priorities that we see on this map. And then, as you were mentioning before, there is that Tassadar Tracer that's been kind of popping up. So I'm wondering to see if that's something that someone tries to go for on a map like this. It could really work.
I just love this map. And just thinking, as you were saying, poke, I haven't even thought about how Junkrat would factor into this map. He's manaless, so he has that sort of unlimited sustain. We'll see if that shows up. I just love this map, especially as I guess these are best of ones, but it's just a great map to assert your dominance on if you have a good strategy thought out. It's really hard to recover. It's possible. And with globals, I think is the best way to do it. It's funny that globals actually end up being powerful on this map, despite it being 2 lanes. But it's harder to come back on this than a Curse Hollow or a Tower. Obviously, Towers of Doom, but it just is. If you have a good team fight strategy for the middle, and the other team hasn't thought of an answer to it in draft or quickly on the rotations, I mean, you can just shut people out in 11 minutes.
Ooh, that is true. I mean, realistically, the objective, as you said, it really can be a powerful force to push down those lanes. I mean, I've seen and I've casted games where you have a first immortal that did drag out for a little bit, but it's going on a keep, and we're sub 8 minutes. Like, it is exactly a very hard map that if it starts to go in one team's favor, it's really hard to kind of get that momentum back unless you get those pickoffs. Maybe someone separated in the solo lane, getting a camp, and your team rotates up and they don't expect it. Things like that can turn it around, but those are very situational, and it's very kind of like, it's happenstance. Usually when a team is up like that, they're going to play tighter. They're going to play like a group. They're going to make sure that they're, not going too far out. So
yeah, we'll see what four-mans that they've cooked up. Yeah, I want to see what four-mans these teams have cooked up to what they think is the more dominant strategy. something dive heavy and end the fight quickly, or usually sustain is the focus here, as you see Medic and Oriole sort of being prioritized as far as healers because they're manaless and they can just stay in that fight forever and ever. That usually ends up being the case.
That is definitely something. And with a lot of the injection of a bunch of new healers, and just to note, like Alexstrasza is going to be very, very. I've already been like theory crafting with friends, like how you could technically go for like 2 off healers, but it would be really stupid powerful, and you could be hyper aggressive with it. Because like I was just fiddling around with her, but like
on the PTR,
yeah, she's going to be something interesting. Like
I'm so
I'm not a big support fan. Like I try and avoid playing it because it's not my strongest.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm definitely gonna be trying to get her locked in a lot of my games that I'm gonna be playing with friends.
I'm so excited. Hanzo, I just said like, please give me Alexstrasza first. I can wait out on Hanzo, and who knows, Hanzo might be really fun. But I agree. I mean, they weren't lying when they said good year for supports.
No.
This year with all the reworks we've had, Uther's rework, Medic's rework, and we've gotten like 5 supports or something. Lucio, Stukov, Ana, Alexstrasza. Yeah.
There's more. There has to be more than that, isn't there?
Let's go to the All Heroes.
I always thought that I thought it was like 6. No, I thought it was 7 actually.
Yeah, we've gotten this year, I believe we've gotten Lucio, let's see, Stukov, Ana, and we're about to get Alexstrasza. Oriole was the last one before that, which I don't recall when she came out, but yeah, I mean, but just the reworks and everything have really made, I think people dislike the double support meta, but I love the state of supports as far as you can't really ban out support. Like a year ago, you could sort of ban out the good supports.
Could support choke.
Yeah, you could support choke the good supports, like quote, and all of a sudden you would be in suboptimal situations. Now you just sort of have to bend your strategy. If you're using Karazim, he's still viable, and if you're using Oriole, she's still viable. You know, she's underpicked, but.
And that's some other things that we need to consider here too. Is that as you mentioned, that Karazim on a map like this where there is that Vala, Karazim with block can really hurt her. Mostly because the fact that it's just she's kind of neutered at that point a little bit, and it gives you your team the advantage in a team fight. And that's actually something that was popularized by, I believe, Dignitas when he was reworked or something. I can't remember, but it was just one of those things that like no one had done it, and then like now we often see it in a lot of tournaments. Like that's one of the reasons we actually see Karazim, picked up on a map like this up against a Vala.
Yeah, and Vala just took a hit to her Hungering Arrow as well, and then hurt her race. So we'll have to see if her priorities fallen a bit. I doubt it. People are so comfortable with Vala. She's such a staple. She's never even really been like too strong. She's just such a solid staple character. I imagine we're still going to continue to see her. Maybe Greymane on a slightly higher priority, but I don't think she's going anywhere. But I think there's good counterplay to Vala now, and if her race is not as good as it used to be on this map, she might want to fall in priority a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what we're going to be getting out of the game, because that's going to be the biggest aspect of it. Is do we end up seeing that early, priority on some of these Tassadar combinations if they can get it through, or are we just going to see stuff on team fight? Because it's a lot of the teams will draft more towards like, all right, our plan is to poke them, not really fight, take the immortal, and win passively through the game, like a control comp. Or you can take more divey where you fight under your own immortal, but you're diving on, there's many different directions in it. And I'm curious to see, because realistically, you don't have to take an immortal born as long as you're winning every team fight. So that's one of the things to consider too. Like if something is strong and what you're going up against is maybe weak, it's definitely something.
I like to see the clash of those two styles too. I like to see the one team playing defensively and the other team just poking and just sort of the waiting game, and then eventually there's that big initiation and all hell breaks loose. That's the most fun. Again, it's like Dragonshire, where it creates tension when both teams are sort of just guarding their immortals and just sort of waiting for that team fight to break out, someone to take one step out of place. And that's why I think Tyrael could, if we're going to see an aggressive, I really want to see Tyrael. I mean, I guess you do have to get to 16 to get Holy Ground, which you can't really rely on getting level 16 in this map. I don't think you can rely on getting level 13 on this map. Yeah, I mean, pick someone that's good at level 4 and 7 and 10 because that's about as far as you'll get. And I think that's a big mistake people make on this map frequently, is you pick someone that has a level 16 heroes power spike, because you almost always get there in every other game. But Battlefield, you just cannot can't guarantee that. If you get Syndragosa down by level 11, you're done.
That definitely is that can be much the push power. It's going to be insane. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is what you mentioned earlier, Junkrat. I mean, how's he going to fit in here? Do we see him? Do people test it out? Do they take it's a risk, because the other thing to consider here is that these are best of ones. So that's not something you want to risk too much, but if you know that it's very strong, then that's definitely what you want to go ahead and pick up.
Yeah, and do we see a concussion mine into a boss stun, into a Meriden stun, into a delete? Like, please, come on, please, deliver it to me.
You get an Artanis dash swap, then you get a Garrosh pull throw, then you get a concussion grenade, and that would probably put them at the core at that point, from like right side immortal to core. I think you can kind of bunny hop like that.
There's so many displacement heroes now. It's just like there's so many good ways to push somebody way out of position. I'm just super excited. I just want to see how it plays with Junkrat, because I mean, you were thinking about BlizzCon, we were also playing without Junkrat, so there might be some teams that have just been, I know a couple people that have just been practicing him, already have him level 15, and I think he's great. I tried him. I had some extra gems, so I grabbed him yesterday, played a couple games, and he's tough to wrap your head around. It's a different kind of playstyle.
The one thing that I really need to get used to is how the grenades are going to work. That is going to be that's one of the hardest things for me, because like when I'm actually trying to like toss them over walls, I'm like, it's colliding with the wall, and then sometimes I'm hitting the like the enemy gate, but it's not exploding at the gate. It's just kind of bouncing back. So it's like I'm trying to learn like what triggers it, what doesn't. It's one of those things. It's a very interesting learning experience. I'm just surprised by it. Like it's fun, but also very, very hard. Oh, I lost audio for you. That might be on, I don't think it's on me. There we go. Oh.
Yep, that was my bad.
There we go. Okay. You are back.
It's just interesting to see how they play it, because it doesn't seem complicated. Oh, he's got a knockback, he's got grenades, he's got it seems like a really straightforward kit. Then you start playing him and you're like, oh, okay, I got a poke. Okay, actually, I got to get close and throw down my mine. And like sort of just, you're like, oh, this is way more complicated than I thought it was at first.
I find myself just hitting all the buttons and going like, I just spent all my cooldowns for no reason. Like, it's just like kind of panicking and just getting everything out. Looks like we are actually going to be going straight from this game. We're going to be skipping this over and going straight into Oh My Science versus Coming in Hot. Believe there was some issue on one of the members of the team there. So either way, we're going to be just kind of moving straight up through the bracket. We're going to go on to our next matchup here. So thank you so much for everybody just staying tuned and waiting patiently. We will get going soon. We're going to be setting up that lobby momentarily. And once we get the map bans and everything, we'll go into that game. But either way, I mean, So we talked about Battlefield of Eternity and how Junkrat can be, an asset on there. Is there anything else that you would actually consider him a priority in, him coming into what kind of map rotation we're currently having?
I would. The first thought off the top of my head is something like uh, similar to where Chromie is good. I don't really think Tomb of the Spider Queen as much, but maybe Towers of Doom because you could poke from so far and just interrupt.
I will say this: I played Junkrat on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and the one thing that I love the most is that you can utilize the traps for vision. One, you have your bomb that is just nice for displacement because the lanes are very short, so you can potentially get that over the gate Karazim like I did. And then the other nice factor is that if you actually have that, I think it's put English on it, is the level 1 talent.
Yeah,
you get that extra range. You can poke those turn-ins really, really well. So just like how you mentioned, like how Chromie's very good for that kind of map. It's the same kind of thing. Like he's got really good poke, and I'm interested to see how he's going to be kind of fitting into how these new compositions that are going to be built. But it looks like we're already going to have map bans and map picks, and we're going to be going straight into this lobby into Tomb of the Spider Queen. Actually,
nice. So I shift from Battlefield for sure. Not the biggest map, but you still gotta make sure you soak your waves. But I think the biggest thing about this map is how short the distance is for rotating. So it sort of gives you that juicy center between macro play and the all-out brawl Battlefield of Eternity style. I like to see how teams play this too. I like the idea of saving gems and then going for the double turn in. It seems like a really powerful way to push your advantage on this map, but it's also risky. You have to carry a lot of gems.
Oh yeah, I mean that's you're averaging above 20 gems per player at that point realistically.
Yeah.
And so it's more than that. I think it's more like 22 gems per person because you need to. No, I'm rounding up, but either
50
way,
50 and 55. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the same thing. It's still like I'm really, really excited about this map because the fact that, as you said, there are those short rotations. That's going to be the compositions that we're going to get on a map like this from those will be very. I won't say that they're going to be like a juxtaposition. Like they're not going to be like, oh, you have this, so I'm just going to like counter it with this. Like dive goes into, complete controller or a little bit of a disengage. But it's one of those things like we often see a lot of aggressive or potential aggression between that top and mid rotation. And then in bottom, we typically just see kind of the solo lane where it's just kind of like, you have your Zagara versus Sonya or Dahaka versus.
We're down here, guys. We're playing. I swear.
We're just gonna, we'll be down here until you call us at 10. So.
So I think we're going to have Coming in Hot is on the right.
Yes, I do believe so.
And we have Oh My Science
on the left. This is exciting. This is going to be exciting. I'm really, really looking forward to actually following this team again.
Yeah, me too.
Last week I can't remember. Well, last week we didn't. There wasn't HeroesHype Amateur Series, but the week before 84, I can't remember if we followed them again or if it was someone else. But either way,
yeah, they won the whole thing. We started with them and they winning the whole night.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 weeks ago. I'm thinking 3 weeks ago then. Or 4, I can't remember. But either way, it's still like they're a very strong team. And as we noted at the start of the stream, they really showed a lot of different compositions and a lot of different heroes. So
yeah, Kerrigan, Tracer, Lucio. I mean, and then the player we spoke with was like, yeah, we don't want to give too much away. I was like, you don't want to give too much away. You're playing Kerrigan, Tracer, Lucia. That almost seems like off the cuff. This might work. Let's try it. And they ended up going, it was like 29 kills, so 1 or something in that game. It was
ridiculous. Obscene. And I think that was the first match of the game, and I believe that was on Battlefield of Eternity too. That was just, whoo! No, thank you. I do not want to deal.
That was severe. And we saw some Kerrigan pop up coming out of, was it Tempo Storm? Yeah, it was Tempo Storm, right? That played.
Yes, I believe they did. They did play two on Tomb of the Spider Queen. They played Kerrigan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And that
but
was
I don't know if we'll see it show up. I think that was just the comforts for the players, and that was sort of their little pocket pick. But
yeah, I don't doubt it at all. But the other thing to consider here is a lot of the poke, as we kind of noted. So things like Zarya, things like Chromie, Junkrat, as we've noted. There's just
Gul'dan maybe.
It's another good option as well. I mean, the wave clear that you get from him is really powerful. The other thing to consider is just, all the other mages that you can go for wave clear. Because Tomb of the Spider Queen, like, it's very hard if you don't show much at the start of your draft. For example, if you just pick up like an ETC Rhaegar, you can realistically go in any direction still with that. You could go dive comp. You could just play a standard. Like, you could pick up, a strong solo laner. Then you can just pick up two more members that are strong in the rotation. Then you just go for that, play the passive game through the objective, win overall on levels, and then just take the team fight.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I believe it was Coming in Hot who I saw play a mean Kel'Thuzad in one of the scrims that I was watching. So maybe we'll see that turn up. It was I can't remember which player, but the Kel'Thuzad play was crazy. So I'd like to see that pop up. I feel like you're not seeing enough Kel'Thuzad for his potential.
That's one of the things. Like, he is a viable mage. It's just one of those things. It's like the argument that you can make. It's just like, but if you're looking, for example, if you're looking for a mage that ramps up, one of the strong ones, Jaina. I mean, she gets ice block naturally after damage, but we're getting right into this draft actually. So we'll go straight into the draft. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, let's just, I love speculating, but now that we're in it, I'm very excited. So I believe we have Oh My Science on the left and Coming in Hot on the right side here.
You are correct.
Okay, so we have first ban, first pick by Coming in Hot. So that means that Oh My Science took us to this map. I don't know if we saw them on this map.
I do not remember. I can't remember. I might be confusing it with a different team who played Asmodan here, so I'm just really, really excited.
Let's see.
But either way, I mean,
thinking safe bans.
Okay, because I was going to say, you've casted Coming in Hot before, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I was going to say, do you know anything like the typical picks that they would go for?
Just that Kel'Thuzad was what stood out to me. I believe also they had a Kel'Thuzad and they played a Garrosh too. So I think if they can't get Garrosh, they're going to ban him. We got an ETC first pick, something we didn't see, something I expected to see 2 weeks ago, like throughout most of the games was ETC high priority pick. We got almost none of it. I mean, it's pretty standard, makes a lot of sense, right?
Right. I mean, I like the ETC. He's overall displacement and control is really good. Self-sustain is very powerful. Mosh is an option as well as stage dive, but a quick and strong Johanna Gul'dan combination out from Oh My Science. That's a good start to this game.
Yeah, and this draft is firing off now. Yeah, Johanna Gul'dan really saying, okay, we're focusing on wave clear. We're getting our wave clear to start, and then that doesn't give too much away composition-wise. They're just saying, we're going to get our strong wave clear, and see how you respond. I'm not sure if they're looking to just play a bit of a counter comp here, and then a Lucio Malthael. This team coming in hot is looking pretty aggressive. Power slide, speed from Lucio Malthael for the solo lane. I like all of it so far. Really, I like that.
No, it's the speed boost for the rotation. Yeah, it's overall, I mean, it doesn't show much of your draft at this point. Realistically, Malthael doesn't even have to be in the solo lane. You can still pick up something else, and he's still strong in the 4-man also.
Yeah.
Definitely something that can disrupt during these rotations, but a hover on a Zul Jin. Actually, we're going to have a Zul Jin ban.
Huh. That's interesting. Maybe they just feel like he's, especially into Johanna, maybe they just feel like that guillotine or something is too strong against Gul'dan. I'm not really sure the reasoning there. I'm not, or unless they have something specific planned that we're not seeing. Or not?
There potentially could be. Maybe you go. Do you go into it? You could take like a second healer, or maybe you just take a second healer and you go into Zul Jin for that. The other thing that just to note really quick, Tassadar hasn't been banned out.
Yeah, there's Tass.
He's made it pretty far into this draft.
And that might be a strong rotation from Oh My Science. Oriole ban. Good synergy with the Gul'dan, but yeah, I mean Tassadar Tracer is just, or Trashadar as I heard it called, is still right on the table. So, and therefore the grabbing. Lucio's strong against the Pulse Bomb, but ETC and Maltheo can be surprisingly squishy if you burst them. They're good sustain at reducing damage. Maltheo stays alive for a long time, but you can just burst him down with the Pulse Bomb. I mean, we'll see if they lean into that. Usually you're seeing the hyper carry with Tracer with a different brand of double support, and then you'd be looking at a solo Johanna frontline, but I can't think of much else unless, they're going to go with Stukov, Tassadar. Okay, so
I was sitting here and I was just like, they have to be going into Stukov. Like, Stukov works with their composition. It's a very strong pick. Maltheo dives in, makes him hard for him to get out. ETC dives in, makes, just the overall silence is really good. The zoning you get from it's very strong. And I was just sitting here, I'm like, but what do you take in that extra slot? And they answered the question with Tassadar. Because I was like, do you take your solo laner? Do you take, because at this point, realistically, they could. I'm just having all the thoughts at once. Coming in hot might try and counter draft what they've picked up, but realistically they're not showing their full draft. So
wow, I really like those picks. I like the Ragnaros pick.
Okay, I like the Rag. I like the Rag
too. The Rag Tassadar, it's good synergy. So they're just taking Tassadar more for the standalone value, storm value, wave clear. He's gonna help the Rag. He's gonna help the Stukov a little bit, but
overall, I mean, this is a really good draft from Oh My Science. Mostly because of the fact that Tassadar, the thing that's going to be the hardest part for coming in hot at this point, in my opinion, is going to be the vision that he will provide to his team. Oracle off of Tassadar during the 4-man rotations is going to be difficult for coming in hot to deal with because of the fact that they can't really have any sort of lane advantage as they go from mid to top to mid. They can't really take an aggressive rotation because they could potentially get caught out. Now, ETC does have that slide for the interrupt, the displacement. So there are all the factors there, but I just realistically think that Tassadar is just going to be an absolute nuisance for coming in hot.
Yeah, it's battery as well. I don't expect him to slip up as far as vision and taking care of all that. I mean, just look at this comp from Oh My Science. The defensiveness, it's just such a defensive comp. Gul'dan, try to push into a Gul'dan. He's just going to dot the hell out of you. You can't push into a Rag. That's like the hardest thing is to push into a Rag. So
all right, though, on our left-hand side, we are going to have Oh My Science with Siru on the Ragnaros. Battery is going to be on that Tassadar. Dark Chimera will be on the Stukov. Troy 1010 will be on that Gul'dan, and Hotcho will be on that, oh my god, blanking out of the name, Joanna. Whew.
And on the right side, we have coming in hot, we have Darkhawk 82 on ETC, Emsa on Maltheo, Ralik on Greymane, Proven on Ana, and Tempest on Lucio.
So going into this matchup, we do have the 5 members going in and just throwing out their confused variant sprays at this point. Oh, and their Lucios, don't forget. But just a lot of posturing just to see which of the members are going to be... excuse me.
Yeah, just a little bit of poking and testing each other out. I mean, I just think this comes down to the Oh My Science draft being super defensive and the coming in hot draft being super aggressive. I think everything about the Oh My Science it seems too defensive, but how are you going to push into that? How are you going to push into a Gul'dan, the Rag, and the Stukov arm? Like, what are you going to do?
That is going to be a really big new system. And the other thing, just to note really quickly, is that we are 1 minute and 10 seconds in, and Gul'dan is 15 stacks into the Fel Flame, and that's just absolutely insane this quickly to be doing that. And that's the other thing to consider here, is that we kind of started to mention in draft a little bit, is that Gul'dan, you need to consider wave clear here, and Gul'dan with that Fel Flame is going to be putting out so much. It's going to be a real asset for Oh My Science, but a little bit of a rotation into this mid lane. Not going to have anything fun happening.
They literally just walked past each other and said, like, okay, I see you there, but we're not gonna let it bother us. Yeah, just a lot of posturing. I think in this first game of the night, you want to make sure you shake off the early game jitters. But you're right. Look at Gul'dan stacking that so quickly. He's already up to 20 stacks. It looks like Oh My Science really just wants to play safe and get their quests done, and because their power spikes are going to come through that Psystorm quest, Spellflame quest, and Empower Ragnaros quest, or Empower Sulfuras quest. So we got to wonder if Coming in Hot's going to bring it early enough. But it looks like Ragnaros actually got way out of position. He was way up by the wall, and he's going to get caught by the rotation and fall.
And that is a significant amount of gems that they lost there too. I believe it was like 13 off of him. So that's a lot from the piggy bank. We actually see during that time that a few of the members of Oh My Science did get the turn in there, but realistically, they're just gonna have to play a little bit safer. Most of the time, we often see teams just kind of play a passive game till about 7-ish. That's usually when we see the teams have collected near enough 50 gems and they're going for that overall push. I mean, they probably passed at that point, but realistically, that's it's a good power spike time. A team like Oh My Science, who's almost a level lead currently, they might be aiming for that kind of area, especially with the drop of those gems off of the Ragnaros. We are going to have Malthael getting pushed in a little bit deep there after he got that kill onto Ragnaros.
Yeah, Coming in Hot now is up to the number of gems they need to do a turn in. So let's see if they start to get a little more aggressive, trying to force Oh My Science off the point here. Gul'dan taking a lot of damage, or I think maybe he's just life tapping and dishing it out, but there he goes, drained life straight back up. Johanna was taking a lot of damage there as well, and Malthael backing, but it looks like she's gonna be fine.
Yep. It's just going to be
It's Johanna.
It's Johanna. Like, what are you gonna do? But Tempest actually a little bit far out. He does have that boostio speed, so he will be actually taking a little bit from Troy 10 there. And actually, we have Relic going in a little bit deep. Damage. The blind does go out from Johanna. Tassadar going ahead and using the auto attack to get some damage out, and Relic will be falling. That is going to be a kill over for Oh My Science, and they're going to be picking up 7s right off of that.
Yeah, they didn't lose too many gems there, but you don't want to lose this 11-second opportunity now that Greymane's down and has to be running back. We got a power slide onto Ragnaros, so Siri out of position. It looks like he should be okay because we have full ammo on the towers there, and Battery just poking away with his laser, telling them, please go away.
Still and beaming people, but we actually have Tempest taking a little bit of damage here. Going to go ahead and get right out of there as they go back to these rotations on the side of Oh My Science. And actually, they're going to push into this tower a little bit. Potential fight actually starting to explode here down by this turn-in as well. We do have the ETC trying to turn in. That is going to be Lucio dying in the top lane to the Gul'dan. And I wonder, do they go for a turn-in here off the back of Lucio dying?
I think that's the right move. Oh My Science really... I'm figuring this out as the comp is going on, and this comp is terrifying. With the Kala's light talent picked up at 4 by Tassadar, you're looking at 15 armor. If they can just stall out, and not only are they stalling out, you almost want to treat it like an Aberther comp where you want to be ahead by level 10. It's going to be impossibly difficult for them to push in. Dark Chimera taking a lot of damage, but just sort of slowly walking away. Just with the self-heal seemed to be a lot, and just more posturing as the web weavers come down.
This is really, really good setup on the side of Oh My Science. Actually, if they can get that bottom fort, that's going to be a really, really good position for them. They actually go ahead and they put battery into that top
way
lane.
Pushed in.
Yeah, so they can get the Ragnaros. And if they actually get the top lane here, this is going to be really, really powerful for them because of the fact that Ragnaros can then Molten Core on that top. And if they are going for a potential boss, pick, or they go in for any sort. Ooh, actually, we're going to have Maltheo falling there. And
Whoa.
he does use the Molten Core. And
excellent.
Getting that kill. Whew.
No lava wave here today. Gonna be a Sulfura smash. So we have Force Wall, Flailing Swipe, Sulfura smash. Nothing too out of the normal. Looks like they're gonna wanna take the team fights and just continue to apply pressure like this. Yeah, the mid fort fall as well. Actually, with this mid fort falling, Ragnaros can Molten Core into that mid fort. Mm-hmm. And if you shoot enemies mid fort, you can reach almost anywhere offensively on the map. Like all 3 forts falling. Actually, it is level 12 to level 8 with only a 3-to-1 kill advantage here. Oh My Science just somehow is taking a 3.5 level lead just through sheer force of will and just making sure they soak XP. That was an unbelievably good Web Weaver phase. Forget what I said about the double Web Weaver. They just rocketed 3 levels ahead on a single phase. That's insane.
What an absolutely strong fight there. And they're fighting 10s down. ETC actually sliding in there. And they're going to go ahead and back right off, but there will be Stukov going ahead and just finishing up more of that level 1 quest as well as Tacit is about halfway through. They're trying to posture for a fight, but they realistically can't do much besides poke. And start trying to get some of that separation with the force walls.
And I don't know if Oh My Science should linger too much longer. The 10s are going to be coming in. But as 10s coming in hot, Oh My Science is going to be hitting 13 before they even hit 10. So right now, 2 talent advantages, massive. Actually, Blessed Hammer coming out of Johanna. That's unusual. You got Go for the Throat, Sound Barrier. We got a Mosh Pit, Tormented Souls. Nothing unusual there. Nano Boost as expected. But it still looks like Oh My Science is just going to force the issue and say, we want this keep. You guys have 10s. You can try to fight us if you want, but we have 13, and we know we're going to win.
Well, the other thing too is that this is really, really, really hurting coming in hot because of the fact that they can't lane anywhere else. They're not getting the experience they need, so they're only getting that mid lane experience that just soaks up to them. Actually, Force Wall going to separate ATC from the team. Blind going to go out. Will not follow up with a kill, but once again, they're still just poking down this keep. They get it. First keep of the game at 8 minutes 38 seconds. Like, whew.
Jeez, and yeah, you almost want to say it was better for coming in hot to spread out and soak, but the lanes were pushed up to about halfway. You'd certainly be killed instantly. They don't have any globals. There's 35 gems on Greymane. I'm certain that is not how many gems a Greymane wants to have. When you want to play aggressively and go in with that Go for the Throat, you constantly in the back of your head thinking about, I have 35 gems, I can't drop them or this game is over. But a 4-level lead, if you lose those gems, you're in huge trouble. And Ana out of position, Corbin taking a lot of damage, forcing the sound barrier. Actually, I think Ana was okay. They're going to try to push in on battery, and Tassadar actually goes down, even though the hard fight went out. Dark Chimera taking a lot of damage as well. Johanna coming in, sort of just saying, please go away. But that's the beginning of some good moves for coming in hot. Getting a kill when you're down 3-4 levels like that gives a huge XP boost.
No, that's extremely strong for them that they got that, and I think they'll be able to go ahead and finally get this turn in, which will give them a little bit of, it'll give them some breathing room. I personally don't think they're going to get a whole lot from this. Just to note really quickly, Lucio already finishing that level 7 talent at like 9 minutes of G. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, it just shows like they're doing a very good job of grouping, making sure that he is staying that within that circle, and that extra AoE is going to be very powerful. Actually, Flailing Swipe going to come out from Dark Chimera here, going to separate the team away, but that is burned, and there is Mosh Pit, and so all they have really for defense is there are some basic abilities, yes, but Sulfur Smash and Blessed Shield are the 2 kind of main engages or stops for this. So with this, I realistically think that coming in hot, they're just going to kind of get the lanes pushed back, but it's just going to buy them time to get closer to 13s. But Oh My Science will just get 16s then.
Yeah, the 16s coming around, and I almost wonder Oh, Greymane getting caught. 37 gems dropping. The sound barrier also going down. So you're using an 80-second cooldown and you didn't even get the save. Darkhawk trying to slide out. Force Ball stopping him. Rag is all over him and he will narrowly escape. Maybe, yes, Sonic with the heals at the last second. But that is a huge misstep. I was going to say, I was really surprised that Coming in Hot didn't try to force the issue mid there. Yes, you're down talent here, but you've got to get some value. The other two waves were pushed so far out. There was no way those web weavers were even going to make it to the front walls of top and bottom. And I feel like they needed to force the issue mid and at least take the one for it. Because now you've used your 50 gems and you've gotten just the lanes pushed out a little bit and you had one death. They're not in a good situation now.
It is going to be a little difficult for them. They're not too far behind, but right away we have Oh My Science going ahead and getting a turn in here. And as we kind of noted before, 13s are really close for Coming in Hot, but as I literally say it, they get 16s on the side of Oh My Science, and
yeah,
a little bit of a dive here onto Battery, and it looks like he does get the shift out.
He does have perfect. Yeah.
Ooh. Dimensional Shift does get him out just in time. He actually, I believe, took the extended range at level 13.
Yeah, he did. The speed and duration,
That is pretty much what saved him, because you saw a few of the members were chasing him there. It was the perfect amount of time. We have a huge Horrify. It separates a few of the members away. We actually have an early kill into Greymane. Huge Soft-Fear smash onto a couple of the members. Break It Down is used right away. They get the slow from Stukov from that fetid touch, especially with that level 1 buff on it as well. Force Wall comes out to separate the team, but they're going to go ahead with this Web Weaver, push into the bottom lane, and Oh My Science, I wouldn't be too surprised if they're going to try and, end the game at this point. With these Web Weavers collapsing like this.
It's too bad Greymane got caught there too. The sound barrier was so good, and Mosh is up. There's almost no interrupt other than the flailing swipe up on the side of Coming in Hot. I think they maybe stood a chance there, but Greymane just going a little bit too deep. And it's looking like they're going to try to fight to finish. Mosh completely misses. Of course, the Silence Arm, how could I forget about that? Johanna with a big condemn. Everyone on Coming Hot very low. Rag going into Molten Core, and it's raining fire down on everyone. But no, Malthiel's not going to get the value he's looking for, and Winion's pushing down. That mid keep, so hard to come back from an early, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but early outplay like that, where they just poked down the mid keep, just made this almost unwinnable.
At this point, they have stuck around long enough. They get the kills onto a few of the members, and it looks like this is going to be the first game going over to Oh My Science. All right. Let's get ready for the next matchup.
Par for the course for Oh My Science. I guess I love that comp. I love that comp. Everything about it so defensively minded, and they still managed to be the ones on offense the whole game. It was almost like, we're going to take the fight to you. We're going to win because we know we can. But if we don't, we're just going to back up and do Stukov Arm and Molten Core. And what are you going to chase us into a Molten Core? It didn't even happen. They didn't even have to use that defensive utility. And they just another dominant performance from Oh My Science. This team is good.
It was a really good show up here. I absolutely love it. The other thing that just kind of I'm peeking over at the stream right now, and just one of the things that, we talked about how that Molten Core and everything, they fought underneath it, and I was just like, why isn't the swing, the swing was probably on cooldown, but it was just one of those things that was just like, oh my God, they're the moment they all kind of kited near that keep, I was just like, oh no, they're gonna Molten Core, and it's gonna be huge, it's that thing you see in the WTF YouTube videos, it's just they walk under, you get a 5-man stun, Joanna gets a blessed shield, it's just follow up after follow up, they stun lock the entire team, and it wasn't exactly that, but at the same time they do end up getting quite amazing, just an end there, and that was a really good push from them. A solid play from both teams, but overall just Oh My Science showing up and just really pushing into this.
Yeah, I just feel like it shows their depth of potential. The fact that it was such a defensively minded comp and they were so dominant with it just says to me, if we were losing, how would you beat this comp? But we're not going to start off by losing. We're just going to win the game if we can win the game. And and they did just convincingly. I feel like it was not a mistake that when they took that first Webweaver phase, all the waves were pushed right up to the walls, and those Webweavers just got maximum value. 3 forts from the first Webweaver. That's unusual to see, even in your pub games. It's almost like taking all 3 towers on the Towers of Doom in the first phase. It's really, how do you come back from that? And especially in a team fight comp.
The other thing to consider there too is that it's so ridiculous to get that much value so early in the game too, because they're not, scaled up. The damage isn't really there. The push power isn't insane or anything. So it's one of those things that you're just like, I can't believe that, as you said, like, I can't believe they got that. But it looks like we're actually going to be getting, Oh My Science. We're going to be going up against Tiny Dancers, which I believe we have casted them before.
Yeah, so I believe we casted this matchup.
A very, very strong matchup. I believe Tiny Dancers are pretty strong here, and Oh My Science has been showing up week to week. So definitely I really like this. And I honestly, I haven't peeked over at the bracket, but
I'm just looking at it now. It looks like we have Tiny Dancers, and then winner of this game will be playing the winner of Tom and the Koreans versus number 1 in innovation. We saw Tom and the Koreans?
Yes.
But not number 1 in innovation last week.
Oh, was Tom and the Koreans was, I believe, the finals that we casted, the best of 3. Was between Oh My Science and Tom and the Koreans, I want to say. But either way, I mean, it was still like, that was a blast. I mean, casting any of these teams is just so much fun that they show up, week to week, that they play these games, and it's always a blast just to cast this stuff, especially here with, the HeroesHype crowd. Is everyone's just always so much fun to work with and talk to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the big advantage of this is if we ever have technical issues, is you and I can just talk about HOTS for like 6 straight hours. We have no issues. We'll just go on and on about it.